thing, when I was out door knocking with Dell on my second day, um, we we would go see these people and they say, wow, they bring like 50 letters to the door, or they show us like their answering machine was blinking. And they said, all these people called, all these people mailed us these letters or postcards. You guys are the only ones that came here. So I realized, okay, here's an opportunity for an in. So I've been door knocking, started doing that, and I had buyers lined up. So I could go to somebody and legitimately say, I have a buyer for your property. Are you interested in selling? The majority of those people said no, or they say, well, what's the price? And you kind of said, well, I'd have to get with my client, get in here, take a look, and give you an offer. And I wasn't bringing my cousin or my friends or anything like that through the house. I was bringing the actual client, and we'd make them an offer. Some would take it, some wouldn't. But those type of deals, they're everywhere. They still are. And in a market like we were talking this morning, just before we started this call, there's 24 or 2,600 homes in the entire MLS in Maricopa County. You've got to go out and get the business. If you sit there and you have buyers and you're just waiting for the next listing that checks all the boxes, it's going to be you and 40 other agents that are doing the same thing. So, what I've done is I've gone out and I have a list that I've been working on for years, and I can go talk to these people and say, hey, I have a buyer interested in making you an offer. And you'd still be amazed how many people are willing to sell. So I do that several days a week, and I know it's not everybody's cup of tea. When I first started doing it, I was shaking like a junkie. I didn't know what to say. I'd be up at the door and I kind of panic. People would, the more I did it, the more comfortable I was. And the more yeses that I got, the more I kept doing it. So this year, I know we're almost, we're 4 months, 4.5, 5 months in. I've got 9.4 million closed as a result of door knocking. I got 7.4 million in escrow right now as a result of door knocking. So 16.9 million in sales from just going and talking to people, at their door, which is crazy. So, you
Brian, can I interrupt for a second? How do you choose where to door knock? Like, what is your system for that?
So when I started doing it in 2012 and 13, I would drive my car. Jenny, my wife, would pack up a bunch of waters. I would drive my car to the end of a block. I would hit every single house on one side, every single house on the other. And that's what I would do every day. And there was really no plan, but I figured, hey, it's a numbers game, just like anything else. So if I hit enough doors, I would get listings. And at the time, a lot of the time, I was just trolling for listings. Some of these houses I really didn't have a buyer for, but I knew somebody in our office did. So if I got the listing, it would sell. So I have since tweaked that, and I now door knock specific neighborhoods that meet specific criteria, whether it's lot size, square footage, number of rooms, south facing backyards, things like that. But it's to the point where a builder will call and say, Brian, we need something between this street and this street, this street and this street. Go get it. And so my target then, I may only have 8 homes. Maybe I have 15 or 20, whatever that number is. And I just go and I keep hitting them all until somebody says yes. So I've got a subdivision in South Scottsdale right now. We're 2015, the day my son was born, I was closing a deal from door knocking. This guy kicked me out of his house 4 different times. He did not want to sell, but I had to have that house to make this infill project work. So it was going back again and again and again. And the crazy thing was the guy would not give me a number of what he was willing to sell. So that's kind of one of the things you'll see when you're out doing this, or whether it's cold calling or mailing letters. People say, well, what is your offer? I don't negotiate against myself. I always try to get them to give me a number. This guy would not give me a number. He says, just bring me the offer, write it up. So I did. First time, it was his family, it's his Frenchman, family. They were very polite. They had this formal dinner. As soon as they were done, I sat at the table. I gave him the offer. He told me to stand up, escorted me out of the house. Did that 2 more times. And finally, I just said, what is your number? You have to give me a number. I can't keep doing this. And so it was December 15th, 2015. He gave me the number. I wrote it up, gave the guy, took a blank AAR lease so we could, he could stay as long as he wanted, and got the deal done. So we did a 2-week close. I'm on the phone with a title company and this guy because he had questions as Jenny is going into delivery. And Dr. Burt Webb is saying, Brian, get off the phone. We're going to have this baby. You got to hang up the phone. So I did. Jenny delivered the baby. I got back to the room and the deal was closed. So today, I mean, it's great. I've got 2 left out of the 7 to sell in there. And that one door knocker going back and back and back to this guy over and over again. I mean, it's going to be about, I don't know, 17 million in transactions just from that. So I got paid on the acquisitions back in 2015, and now I'm getting paid on these sales and developing relationships with these buyers who are now giving me their friends from Minnesota, Seattle, Chicago to expand and keep growing my business. So, it's all a result of going back and annoying that guy to the point where he would sell. And I think everybody has a number. There's always a few people that don't, but for the majority of people out there, there's a number that they're willing to move for.
So consistency and persistence.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Right. So a lot of our agents that are here, we have some that have been in the business for quite a while. Dawn jumped on there. Linda jumped on there. We have Helen as well. They all have their systems in place. What is something that that you could give them and everybody else that might help them if they're looking to go out and get a listing today, or if they have a buyer, how to get that buyer taken care of? What is one little piece of advice you might be able to give?
To the experienced agents? These guys will tell me what I should do. I don't know. I think we all agree. It's just being consistent and, picking up the phone and calling people. I think that's the biggest thing. Just pick up the phone and call. I don't know how many contacts you guys all have in your phone, but I guarantee if you call everyone in that phone in the next 2 days, 3 days, however long it take you to touch base with everybody, and you ask for business, I would bet $10,000 any one of you that we would all have a listing or a buyer out of our entire contacts in our phone.
Yes, that is correct. Correct. Yeah, this is the.
Sorry about that, guys. So, and that's one of those things that Julie has actually been kind of pushing on some of our agents that she works with on a daily basis is call your database. Just call them. It doesn't matter if it's been 2 weeks or 2 years. Just call. I
think now more than ever, you have a message. I mean, the message is we have no inventory. If you have any thoughts, if you want to put more money than you ever thought you'd get for your house into your pocket, now is the time to make a move.
If you're ready to right size, today is the day.
I wanted to make a comment, and I don't know if it's important enough to even bring up, but
please, Helen, go ahead.
You know what? We think that with everything that's out there in the news, we assume that our past sphere knows what's going on. So we feel kind of like, no offense, Brian, but like a used car salesperson, calling them to give them what's already on the news. And we build such good relationships with them that we don't want to feel like a salesperson when we're talking to them. However, in all honesty, that's what we're doing, is we're staying in touch with our sphere. And with what we've all gone through in the last year, that is where my stumbling block is in my business right now, is how to rediscover to be authentic, because I think if anything, I am such an authentic type person. And that's really what people kind of respect about me, is that I tell it how it is, and I'm very authentic. That's my stumbling block. That's what my most difficult thing is right now. So I don't know if that was important enough to even bring up, but maybe other people are feeling that also.
Helen, out of my 10 years of teaching, if you're feeling that, there's other people that are feeling it as well. So you're the one that's brave enough to actually say something, but everybody else has those same questions.
I'd love to jump in here because, Helen, I saw what you have done with a potential listing of the townhouse. Imagine if you weren't serving those sellers and some other agent was in touch with them who wasn't offering the level of service that you're offering. So coming from an authentic place of wanting to serve your friends and family and colleagues and referrals, instead of having them fall into the hands of an agent who may not be as capable, knowledgeable, or competent, you're not being a schmoozy salesman, you're serving your clients.
Well, thank you for that. But, you know, it is a real stumbling block for me right now, is reconnecting and staying connected with my sphere and feeling authentic. That's really my, and you know, Brian, to go out and knock on doors, when you knock on a door in this kind of a market that we're in, because every day our market is changing a little bit. And the market that we're in right now, when you knock on the door, of course you've got a buyer for it. And I don't know. I just, yeah. I don't know.
Well, go ahead, Linda.
I understand where Helen's coming from. I really do. But there's a way, I mean, it doesn't have to be just about, do you want to sell your house? I mean, it's really going about asking them how they're doing over the past year with all the restraints, wearing the mask, whatever it is, how their family's doing. It's really about asking, caring about who they are as a person and who their family is. So you can go about that way. It's just the connection that needs to be there. Then if they ask about the business, you can just even jokingly say, hey, what, do you want to sell your house? I mean, I've met people over the past 2 weeks for various reasons, business that I was doing. And every time I met them and they asked me what I do, I said, I'm a realtor. Would you like to sell your house? I need listings. And I just pointedly said that to people. And they thought, and I said, I'm not joking, I'm serious. And so, I mean, I think you just have to reconnect with your database, and I need to do the same thing. I'm not saying I've done it very well the last, because we're so busy, we sometimes just push that aside. But there's ways to do it without feeling that you're being a used car salesman. That's what
you're right. And you know what? One really great thing is that things are really opening up again and fast. And I mean, just to go into, I was at Fashion Square and it was like, oh my God, I feel like we're back. And yeah, I think things are just starting to open up, and I'm glad, because I'm just at the point of breaking that I needed it to come back. So yeah, I'm probably just still feeling what we've been going through for the last year. And, but I want a door knock, because in my opinion, I think most of you know that I've always been big on open houses. In my past 20, however, close to 30 years of being in business, I did at least 3 open houses a week, if not 4. I mean, open houses was how I got my business. And anybody jump in and correct me, because I'm looking for correction right now, and I learn quick. But to go out and do an open house, I mean, the last 6 buyers that I've had have stumbled onto, and yesterday Sandy said, get them under buyer agreements. But, you know, that's tough to get somebody under a buyer agreement when they're shopping off their phone and they're stumbling into open houses and they're, I've lost my buyers and I've lost them to other agents, and it hasn't been from me not staying in touch and sending them properties and going back to open houses. You go into an open house, I don't know so much that I even want a buyer. Well, I mean, of course I'd love a buyer, but I mean, I don't know if I want to really be working with buyers. Listings, we all really need to be listing right now. And to, you know, have a better business outline for what our future is, right? And then with the way the market is. And I know I'm stumbling over my words, but I wasn't really prepared to talk, so I apologize for that. But it's not, open houses, I don't believe is the place to be right now, unless somebody walked in there.
Helen, I completely disagree with you. I just
Thank
got a
you.
$1.5 million
you.
listing and they're buying at least $1 million house. I got them on Saturday.
Thank you.
So
I need to hear this.
Yeah, so we can talk offline, and I'm using Shannon's system from Open Houses Direct. It worked beautifully. I got 80, probably about 50 unrepresented leads, and I got a brand new listing, and they're buying too. So
But where are you taking the leads? I mean, the properties just aren't out there to be showing these leads.
I haven't gotten that far, but I did
Yeah.
get, because I just reached back out to them after the open house for the weekend, but I did get a couple. They knew other agents. They know a ton of agents, but they loved my personality. They loved my open house,
Absolutely.
my coming soon strategy. They know a lot. I mean, you know, and they were like, well, if you know a buyer, and I'm like, Ruth, you do not want to do a FSBO in this market, especially in this market. You are leaving money on the table.
Gosh,
Absolutely
yes.
not. If you don't, you know, you need to use my strategy. She saw me over the weekend. She saw it worked. We had to check in a QR code for a check-in. Everyone had to check in, every single person before they even got in the house. They loved the professionalism, and she wasn't going to list. She's like, well, no. I said, no, Ruth, you need to do this. And
Yep.
she really liked the strategy. So it works, but you have to do it the right way, because the
Yep.
old system of letting people wander around in your open
Nope.
houses and not capturing those leads,
Nope.
that's not the way to do it.
No, it's not. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Thank you for
let's
that. I'm
chat.
going to be quiet because I don't need to put all my problems out there.
No,
but-
no, it's frustrating. Are you kidding me? I completely understand where you're coming from, but
Well,
there is a way to get through the noise.
And that's
Yep.
one of the reasons that we do this as well, is that everybody has their frustrations. Everybody knows what's going on. And, you know, we have different agents that, and Brian, you said that they're going to be teaching you something. Trust me, Don Matheson learns something new every single day. And he tries to make sure that he does learn something new every day so we can stay on top of the market. So we can all learn from each other. And that's what's great about our format here, is that we can talk openly and share our frustrations. We're all going through this right now. Some of you doing it a lot more than what I am. I only get one or two here and there, but when you're on the front line every single day, you feel those frustrations. And that's what's great about our office, is that we have so many people you can rely on and talk to and walk through these frustrations. And how are they overcoming that? What can you do? Because everybody on here has a wonderful personality. I thought I saw Sam Estrada on here earlier. He did the same thing, Helen. Most of his business came from open houses, because once you get in front of somebody, you've got that personality that's going to draw them in and get them, and they're going to love you, and they want to use you as an agent. Once you have them, that's where your professionalism kicks in. And I think that's what one of the things that Brian has brought to this right here, is that he does have that professionalism. He is very consistent. He is, I don't want to say a bulldog, but talking about that situation earlier, goes back to the same individual 4, 5, 6, 7 times to finally get it done. I mean, that's a bulldog right there. So, all right, Brian, let's go to the next subject. I know we were kind of talking a little bit yesterday about this. If there is one thing that people can do today to help get them business for May, or to at least get it closed by June, what are some of the ideas you think that they could do?
I think the biggest thing right now, if somebody wants, you know, a paycheck in June and they don't have any listings or they don't have any buyers, is really go back to your sphere. Go back to everybody in your phone. I think that's probably the easiest thing. It doesn't cost anything. And, you know, I know, Helen, we talk about not trying to sound like a used car salesperson. Most of the times when I call people through my phone, I mean, 95% of the time, I don't even talk real estate. I just call to see how their kids are doing or their dog, or, you know, talk, hey, you know, maybe people that are fans of the Phoenix Suns, can you believe they're in the playoffs after 10 years? You know, touch base with them about stuff like that. Don't even bring up real estate. A lot of times, most of the times they bring it up. Hey, how's the market? I heard this, or man, my neighbor's house sold for this, you know, so they bring it up. And then the other thing too is, you know, I listen to a lot of like Brian Buffini and Tom Ferry and stuff like that as I'm driving around town. I think one of the biggest things is that Brian Buffini always would beat into people. It's like, oh, by the way, I'm never too busy for your referrals. I say that all the time when I talk to people. So if we don't get into real estate, I remind them, and they're like, oh yeah, of course. And sure enough, you know, they send you business. The other thing too, you know, is you're going through your phone. If you run out of people to call some divorce attorneys. Put a list together. Right now, there's more divorces going on than ever. People hate each other living at home, and with all the other stress that's going on in their lives. These guys, you send them business, they send you business. You know, that's just how it works. So I would go down that route. I would call financial planners, you know, bankers and stuff like that, because there's a lot of people that are selling in this market. They want to know how to maybe talk about 1031s, or, you know, what they can do with this cash. So start going down a list of other people to call as well. And if that doesn't work, call agents like Helen that doesn't want to work with $500,000 buyers because it's a pain in the ass, and send her a referral fee, because some of us will, right? I call, there's a few luxury agents in the town of PV that I get their scraps that they don't want attached to their name. So maybe, you know, this person's, their average listing's $3 million, and they get a $400,000 listing in Mesa. Guess what? They don't want that on their resume. I will take that. I will take a chicken coop if I can make $1. So call some other agents that are too proud, or just too busy, or don't have the time, or don't want to take listings in Apache Junction and Mesa and places like that. Because anywhere you list it, it's going to sell. Anywhere in the valley right now.
Brian, do not take those chicken coop listings away from Bonnie and Veronica. That is their category. Don't you dare infringe.
Yeah, those are the luxury chicken coops. I'm talking like Maryvale, you know, Levine, Buckeye, things like that.
Oh, that's funny.
So,
all right. Does anybody have any questions that they want to propose to Brian or any other of the members of our panel today?
I would just like to say that I think your sense of humor on social media probably attracts a lot of your tribe that trust you in working with them for their real estate needs. So never be afraid to show who you are. I think that's a message that needs to be heard also, because you don't hide behind any facade on social media. You are loud and proud who you are. And I think that's what we all need a reminder of.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's important, whether it's on social media, face to face, in the car, wherever. Just be yourself. You know, don't try to be someone you're not, and don't compare yourself to other people. Just be you. That's what people like. People work with people. You know, there's a saying. You know, there's so many people out there right now, because things are limited. They're looking for the silver bullet, right? Just go back to the lead bullets and just use them. I don't think we have to get all fancy and try to spend money and do all these other crazy things to get business. Of course, I know there's some agents that are doing phenomenal with that. But at the end of the day, I think just going through your phone and talking to your neighbors and garage sales and things like that, that's still it's an age-old principle. It's not going to change. It's always going to work.
I think one of the things you brought up earlier is door knocking. A lot of people don't do that just because they're afraid of the rejection. What would you suggest to them on how to overcome that objection?
So I think, you know, it's not comfortable to do. I absolutely hate when people come to my door, even Amazon. I don't like it. The dogs barking. I don't like people ring the doorbell and all that bullshit. I don't like it at all. However, I don't do it between 4 and 7 p.m. or after 4 p.m. or even 3 p.m. I don't do it. Now, I know Dell, he would always say, Brian, you got to go between 4 and 7. That's when people are home. That's when it works. And yes, people are home, but they are also making dinner for the family or their kids or going back and forth to t-ball and dance. Some of them have already had a few drinks, so they get a little testy. So usually I start door knocking at 10 and I cut it out by 2:30, maybe 3:15, you know, but after that, I do not go door knocking past 3:15. Nothing good for me has happened after that time. But I would also encourage, if you're doing open houses, go door knock the day or two before and just invite the people to the open house. You don't have to, you know, say, hey, do you have a buyer, you know, or do you have a seller, or excuse me, do you want to sell? I have a buyer. You don't have to even go down that path. Just say, hey, having an open house is Saturday from 11 to 2. I've got otter pops. Bring your kids. Come down, check out the house. If you want to talk market and talk shop, we can do that. But, you know, here's an invite. Give them your card, you know,
Hey,
and you'd be surprised how many people that are not in the market will come down to the open house and expect an otter pop because you said you had them, so you better have them, and just kind of build your network that way. And that way, it's just, I mean, who's going to get mad at somebody for inviting them to an open house, right? Everybody wants to know, what's my neighbor's house going to sell for? So that's what I would do if your thing is open houses. If you're if you want to go out and just door knock and overcome the fear, come with me. We'll have a good time. And I invite agents, and I've had agents that go with me, and they're like, well, how'd you pick this house? And they get nervous, even though I'm the one doing all the talking. They don't want to do it because they're scared. And I you know, some of them I have to kind of push up to the house and be like, all right, you're going to do this one. There was an agent that was in our office. He left a couple years ago for some different reasons, but he was struggling getting listings. I said, you know what? I'm going to come down and we're going to door knock. And he lived in Ahwatukee, and I didn't door knock Ahwatukee. I didn't realize that 95% of his subdivision works. So it was a little different than South Scottsdale, where I was hitting a lot of retirees. But we hit 8. I told him, I said, we are not going to quit until we get a listing today. We hit 85 doors. On door 86, the lady says, it's amazing that you guys stopped by today. I was going to call a real estate agent tomorrow and sell my house. So 86 doors is the longest it's ever taken me. It's probably usually around 15 to 20. I know there's some agents in our office that have done it. Jeremy Brown, first door he hits, first one, he gets a listing. They're doing a Bible study, and then he gets somebody else that's in that Bible study, like, oh, look at this sexy real estate agent knocking on our door. I want to use him. So then he got 2 deals off that. It was the first door he hit that day. So you just never know. Again, it's a numbers game. You don't know who's behind that door, but the majority of the people are pretty cool. They may not want you there, but they'll still talk to you. I've had very few people shut the door. Maybe 1 out of 50 will just slam the door and, you know, complain about something. The majority of them are really cool, and a lot of them will let you in. And if they ask you to come inside, go inside, have a drink of water or lemonade or whatever you want. But it's not that bad. And once you do it a few times, you know, it just becomes second nature, and it's fun.
Quick question, Brian.
Go ahead, Helen.
When you do your daily door knocking, not the open house door knocking, because you know what you would want to leave behind, but on a daily door knocking canvas, you take a leave behind? Do you give them something? Do you do like a market analysis of that neighborhood just to do a leave behind with your name on it? Or You just give them a business card, or what is your take along?
I used to take door hangers, and the only people that called me off the door hangers or the flyers or the postcards were people that were in the printing business or the mailing or marketing, that then would want to sell me something. So it would backfire on me. I mean, yes, I made another connection, but they're like, hey, I can get you a better price on, this postcard or this door knock flyer you put on my house. So I just take a business card. If they're not home, I write on the back of the business card, sorry, I missed you, please call. And then they get scared. They're like, oh, did this guy see a burglar? Is my sprinkler leaking? Why do you leave this card? And most of those people do call. And I just tell them, I say, hey, I was in the neighborhood. I've got somebody that's very interested in purchasing in this subdivision, just seeing if anyone, was interested in selling. And a lot of times they're like, we're not, but go talk to Ethel 3 doors down. She's a widow now. She wants to move back to Ohio to be with her grandkids, and that works. There's a couple other agents. I'm definitely not the best at door knocking, but I'm probably the most consistent in Scottsdale and PV that's out there doing it. I do know there's a couple Keller Williams agents that do it in the East Valley, and those guys are making over $1 million a year, and they do it all the time. They do it religiously. So, for me, now when I go out and I canvas, I'll do the research, Helen, before I go to that neighborhood. I'll know the comps, so I at least know what I'm talking about. So if they say, oh, do you know what that house sold for? Yeah, I can say, yeah, it was 640. It was on the market 3 days. But I'll just go to Monsoon real quick and click on, 7 or 8 of the little blue or pending, listings in there, and just know enough so I don't look like an idiot, right? I got to at least know the price point of the neighborhood that I'm door knocking.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right. What other questions do we have for Brian today? I mean, he's been very very informative so far. So any questions you have, I'm sure he'll ask.
Where's he get his hair done?
I do it myself, Don. Every morning.
Last time I saw you had like Band-Aids all over.
Yeah.
I was going to tell you, get it professionally done. You can afford it.
I'll tell you that is the one thing that, when you do shave your head on a daily basis, you do get the nicks, and the head will bleed bad. So there's times where I've actually had blood coming down the back of my head. I go to a listing appointment, they're like, oh, what happened to the back of your head? And I don't see it. So now, I do it in the morning, so I'm not rushed right before a listing appointment or we're talking to people, because it is kind of, it happened to me last week. I had blood all over my neck and in my collar from a cut on the back of my head. So
Just got to tell them you'd go to battle for them.
That's exactly right, Helen.
Kind of like real estate.
Brian, to answer Don's question, I think you use Shinola every morning or whatever. You could laugh. My question is, besides the door knocking, is that still your number one pillar that you work every day, so to speak? And or have you added since 2015 other pillars that you work very consistently as well as the door knocking?
yes. And thank you for the reminder, because I did say I had to adapt. Last March, second week of March, I stopped door knocking because people were scared to death. Now, the nice thing, I tried to do it, but people were home. They were getting upset. And so I took a break from door knocking. I switched to direct mail, meaning targeted direct mail. I didn't just do like mass mailing to a subdivision. I pulled information. I asked title or lender, hey, can you get me a list of this? And I would handwrite notes, send them to these people, and try to generate business that way. And it works. I'm very, very specific with how I target, but if I mail out, 100 letters, handwritten letters, I would say 2 to 2.5% I'm going to get business from. And I know that sounds like a lot, 100 handwritten letters. Oh my gosh, it's not that much, because I do 5 or 10 every morning before my kids are up. And, I just drop them in the post office on the way to school, or, the way to the credit union or whatever. And I put them in there. That gets results. The only other thing that I would say that I add that's probably one of my best things, and I got this from Reggie Green, if you guys know him at Fairway. He's not my lender, but he's a good friend. I've called several different lenders, people outside of real estate and said, hey, how are you generating your business? What is your biggest return? Slide dial. People do the slide dial. They get a lot of returns from that. And it's just a basic message. Hey, hope everyone's have a good Cinco de Mayo this weekend. Just call them to say hi, That's done well with people. And the other thing was newsletters. So I do a monthly newsletter that I started in 2017. Reggie Green said, this is probably my #1 source of business. And it's a very informal newsletter. If anybody wants a copy of mine, I send it out every month at the end of the month. It has a recap of the Cromford report at the bottom, but it's a 2-paragraph, 3-paragraph deal about my family. There's pictures of my kids, and that's it. It's just like not a lot of real estate until you get to the bottom. But the first time I did that, I was like, well, let's see how it goes. I got 7 deals out of my first newsletter, and I only sent it to like 250 people. It was crazy. So I called Reggie. I'm like, you're not going to believe this. He goes, yeah, no, I told you, man. Every time I send that out, every month, I at least get 3 or 4 responses.
Brian, do you mail that out, or is it an email newsletter?
It's an email newsletter, and it's completely different than what everyone else is sending out. I mean, it doesn't look like, hey, here's an automated email that's come out on, the 15th of every month or whatever. So they see it, they know it's coming at the end of the month, and it's kind of a recap of what my family did that month, and then kind of here's a little quick snippet on the real estate. So if anybody wants to see it, just email me. I'll send it to you. Copy it, do whatever you want to do. But that is my #1 outside of door knocking. That's probably my best return on investment. It doesn't really cost me anything, I mean, it's just time to type it out and send it out. But other than that, it's pretty awesome. Then you're staying top of mind. You don't feel like the car salesman, and people are like, oh, look, your kids. Now they've been watching my kids grow up for the last 5 years on this newsletter. Like, oh my God, I can't believe they're in college now. Hey, my daughter's going to Tennessee. They're going to see that. They're going to be like, oh, wow, I have friends in Tennessee. If you go there, I mean, it's pretty awesome. So it kind of works itself.
Do you use, you do this personally? You create your own newsletter, correct?
Yes.
Is there a program that has a template that you prefer?
No, mine is actually in an email. So
it's just
the
here I
photos are
am.
embedded in an email, and then I just I put everybody's address in the VCC, and it goes out.
And how often do you do this?
Once a month.
Once a month.
So
you just kind of
out tomorrow.
Yeah, so you just kind of recap everything that's going on and stick it in an email.
Yep.
And miss y'all.
You can read through it in 90 seconds. So if you don't have a
Thanks,
newsletter,
Brent. You're awesome, by the way.
Thank you. If you don't have one, I would put one together. And I don't think it's just for real estate. I think it's for anything. I mean, Reggie was the one that told me about it for lending and mortgages. And, he sent it to me, and I was like, that's kind of cool. It was just like his kids playing at the park, and then his son throwing his first, ball at a T-ball game. I'm like, that's pretty cool. And it said, oh, by the way, if you're looking to refi or purchase, here's his link. So I took that and kind of copied that. I cleaned it up a little bit, but like I said, if anybody wants to see it, I'll send it to you. It's awesome. I think it's awesome, and it's very simple, and it doesn't look like spammy real estate newsletter.
All right, we have just a few minutes left. Does anybody else have a final question that they would like to ask? Other than Brian's hair care products? Go ahead, Don.
So there's, I'm in a bunch of different mastermind groups, but, and this is more of a discussion group, but there's a really good book called The Power of Who. And it's by Bob Bodine, Power of Who. And basically it says, it's like I just about finished it. You already know everyone you need to know, right? So it's back to sphere of influence, right? I mean, but the book's got it's a really great book, and I learned a lot by it. But I would tell you that being in the mastermind groups I am, everybody has the same thing. People are up, people are down. The thing I like about, I'm in a small mastermind group of 6. including myself, and it's really great. But, you know, they struggle with no inventory. They struggle with deals falling apart. They struggle with 20, 30 offers. They struggle with everything. And to get in that one group, you have to be making $1.5 million. So they're struggling with all that stuff too. And these are people who are making between $1.5 million and 2.4 million a year. Year in, year out, year in, year out. So it's not unusual, no matter, and you know, everybody works at their own level that they want to work at. And I know that, you know, I've watched the big guy here, Brian, and I've got ultimate respect for him. I know how many pairs of shoes did you wear out that one summer? How many? Tell him.
Yeah, probably 3.
3 pairs of shoes. What was the average temperature that summer?
115.
And the reason he wore them out is because they melted. The heels melted off the shoes. And so, you know, the only thing I can tell you is that consistency wins the game, and whatever level you want to compete at, just be consistent, you know. And Brian is the epitome of being consistent and just being a hard worker. He's a great listener. Anytime I've been around him and seen him with, you know, he came and showed a home and I brought some clients, and Brian had asked great questions and he was a really good listener, and he repeated back what he heard from people. And so, you know, at the end of the day, it's like, do people trust you? You know, and you build trust by being able to be like Brian, and that's a good listener and asking good questions. So the other thing I would say is open houses. I think everything works. For me, I don't do them. I haven't done them for, well, I'm pretty old now, but maybe 40 years. And so, you know, again, it's whatever, you know, it's whatever brought you to the game, whatever brought you to the party. And what's brought Brian to the party is exactly what he's doing. He's being consistent. He's door knocking, he's calling, he's mailing. And that's why he makes well over $1 million a year. And, you know, now he has momentum too, right? And so now he has the power of who. He's got a lot of who's on his list, you know, and everybody does, whether you're Julie LaRaza or, you know, my good friend here, Karen Picarello. We've known each other a long time, but she's got a good power of who too. And sometimes we just forget, you know, we get caught up in buying the new shiny thing, you know. And I think one of the other really important things is points of impact, right? And points of impact are who, you know, it goes back to this book, and, you know, it meant a lot to me to read it, but who do I call? I was talking to Mike Ferry directly last week, maybe 2 weeks ago. Well, last week, I guess. And we talked about, you know, he says you got to call so many people a day, and he's kind of got softer and kinder, but, you know, I only call 3 to 5 people a day. That's it. I don't, but I pick who I want to call, right? Who on my list of that day can I make a difference in their life? And who would, if I made that difference, what kind of difference in my life would they make? You know? And I think that's the big thing. And you got to be confident. And back to your authenticity comment to Helen, is that's authenticity, is like, who can I help today? Who can I impact their life? And who will impact my life at the same time? So I think that's all that I've got to say. And one last thing though, it's really important. Why are you laughing, Greg?
Because Don, there's never just one last thing with you.
How long did it take you to get by my office the other day to go to physiotherapy?
About 20 minutes longer than it should have.
I'm sorry, I apologize.
I still made it on time though.
Oh, good. Thank God, I was worried.
I know.
But the other thing I would tell you, it's really important when someone asks you how's the market, how do you see the market? Like, what are you going to say? Karen, what are you going to say? It's what? It's great. Yeah, but well, yeah, but tell me more about that, Karen.
Karen, you're on mute.
She's always on mute for me. She doesn't want me to hear what she's saying. What are you going to
Sometimes
say,
that's a good
Karen? I'm
thing.
going to put you right on the spot. What are you going to say?
Well, first I'm going to say, well, are you a buyer or a seller?
Well, I'm thinking of selling. I'm thinking of buying. Now, what are you going to say?
Well, if you're thinking of buying or selling, it's always a good time.
Right. And why should I sell right now? Is the market going to go up? Is it going to go down? I mean, what's it going to do?
Well, it looks like it's going to go up for the next year at least. But what you want to do is take advantage of the low inventory and then find a new house.
I think I'll wait till next year to sell.
And why would you do that?
Well, the prices will be better, won't they?
Maybe.
Poor Karen. She's known me a long time. She's
I
So
know.
here's what's great about this conversation with Dawn right now is that Dawn is our guest speaker next week for business development. And
Oh, awesome.
one of the information that he's kind of talking about right now, he's going to show us part of the video of this mastermind group that he's in, and it answers a lot of those questions. So Dawn, without really probably thinking about it, was doing a great segue for next week. And I know Dawn, and I'm right down the hallway from Dawn, and I hear him role playing with his agents. I hear him chanting with his agents and calling. So just like Brian, it's consistency. There's no way Dawn or Helen or Brian or Karen, anybody that's on here can be where they are without being consistent. And if you're looking to get to that next level, listen to the members around here. They've all given you the tools. They've told you what you have to do. It's you making that first step. And then once you take that first step, what's the first question that pops in your head, Don? Oh shit, where do I go from here? Then you got to take the next step.
I was asked that question, Don, this week, or that was presented to me from a seller saying that they were going to wait for a year. And, you got to be quick on your feet. And my thought, well, I responded quickly and I said, oh my gosh, if I promise to take really good care of your crystal ball, can I borrow it for 1 week? What I could do with that? And it kind of gets them thinking. And then I say, my mom always told me a bird in the hand. And I just kind of leave it like that. But how do you respond, Karen, to something like that?
Well, it's kind of, I think Brian he's really good at responding to that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I've seen him, but I think the main question for me always is, what is causing you to think about selling right now? And right now it could be 12 months from now, but what's causing that? We're finding there's a lot of people that are downsizing, correct? Brian sees that. And then, and you all see that. And so you're seeing a lot of people upsizing, correct? And so the thing I think is really, and this is another thing that we're going to answer next week for you, is to get buyers off the edge. And what do buyers tell you right now? They think the market is going to
crash.
Thank you very much. And so next week, I'm going to share with you, we cannot record it because I have a non-disclosure agreement with the other people in my mastermind group, but it's going to answer it's going to give you a story to tell that's factual, that you can tell your buyers, that's going to cause them to get off the edge. And it's going to motivate them to get going. Because I've listened to this video now, probably this next week will be the 9th time, and maybe the 10th or 11th by the time next week rolls around. But it will give you a story that's probably one of the best stories you could ever impart to your clients. And I would hope that that story that you're going to hear next week will make you all a lot of money. And so that's all I got to say about it. So I'll look forward to seeing you all next week. I hope we have a big crowd. I showed it to Antonio Guerrero. And what he said is, he said, well, I want to come back to your office and watch it again.
Mhm.
So, you know, and Antonio's a very busy guy, very successful guy like Brian and everybody else on this call. So we'll see you all next week and it'll be a lot of fun. And yeah, so it's about 45 minutes long. I've shrunk it down. It's usually an hour and 15 minutes tops. We mastermind every 2 weeks. And the guy's name is Barry Habib, Habib. And he's an economist. He has won the Crystal Ball Award 3 times, the only economist in America to win it 3 times. And he is in the top 5 in America. And he worked in the housing sector of the Obama administration previously, but he's not very political at all. It's just they had him work in the housing sector for his brain power. So this is going to be really, really good. So I can't wait to watch it again. I hope you join us next week. And Antonio is going to give you a little video or something apparently he made up. So he's probably going to give me crap, but that's okay. I can take it.
Well, Don, thank you so much for setting the stage for next week. Antonio is actually leaving town, and so we shot the video yesterday afternoon, so that'll go out next week, and we'll do very similar. So I want to say thank you very much to Brian Keller for being our guest speaker today. Wealth of knowledge. I think everybody gained something out of that. I know I did. So when you're ready to go door knocking, just let me know, and I'll go with you. So thank you to all of our marketing partners. We really do appreciate all of you. And thank you to our agents that came in today. I do have one question before I let you guys go. Did it help that I sent it out right when we started? Would you want me to send the link when I do that as well? So it pops right as soon as you get there. Say, hey, Brian's live right now. Come on and join. Is that good for everybody? All right, perfect. Well, we'll do that next week with Dawn. And thank you again, everybody. Go out and have a great week. And it's always a no if you don't ask. So go out there and get it. Bye, guys.
Brian, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.